Hi guys, Dan here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create a light leak inside of Photoshop. And I looked up quite a lot of tutorials on how to do this before, because it's something I've wanted to do in Photoshop for a while, and I've had a few ways of doing it, but they all have their pros and cons. But today I'm going to be showing you two ways. One way I've got recently from a couple of videos I watched, and surprisingly a lot of the tutorials are not people actually creating it inside of Photoshop. They just get some sort of light leak pack, or just go onto Google Images and search light leak, and then they just kind of drag anything they like into Photoshop, set it as screen, and mess around with the opacity if it's too strong, and the colors, and that's all well and good, but there's a few things you have to consider when you do this. One, you've got to search for something you actually want to use. So if there's a certain actual look you're going for, then it's going to be a lot harder to find than it is to make, once you obviously have watched this tutorial. And two, copyright. If you're going to go on and sell whatever you're making, then if you're using someone else's image, then you obviously have to get permission, blah blah blah. If you edit the image enough, then obviously that doesn't come into play, but a lot of people won't, so that's just something to consider. And if you need any free stock photography for practicing this effect on, or just you need some sort of imagery for a website or anything like that, then Upsplash.com is really good. I've been using it the last few days. I found it just googling some free stock photography websites, and this is one of the best I found so far. So yeah, you don't have to worry about copyright or anything. You can use these in things you're selling, and you don't need permission or anything. So they're all copyright free, and that's what I'm going to be using in this image I have in this tutorial. Even I have two here. I got a picture of like a Mac, quite a dark image, and then I got this boat, and it's quite a light image. So I just want to show you what this effect looks like on two kind of different types of image. And here's what we're going to be creating first off. I'm going to show you a few ways you can make the light leak different shape, sizes, colors, all that stuff. So let's get into this. Basically this design is split into just two simple gradients. There's one way I do sometimes that doesn't involve a gradient, and you can do it yourself. It's kind of all manual with the brush tool, but this one that works really well, especially for like the streaky type of light leaks. And as you can see, I think it works really well on this Mac picture. Not too great on the boat. It doesn't look bad on the boat, but you can notice it's not as strong, and that's because the image is a little lighter. So you may want to consider that when you're doing light leaks, that if the image is quite light overall, the effect is going to be a little bit dimmer. It's going to blend in a lot more, but you obviously still get that still quite a vivid effect there. And you may even want just a slight light leak, nothing too intrusive of the image, maybe just in the corner, maybe like a kind of like a burn in the corner. So that's completely up to you. It's all personal preference. I personally think that looks sick, but I'm quite a sucker for light leaks. They kind of I've just put them on any image and I'm just like, oh, light leak looks so good, but a lot of the time it probably doesn't actually look that good. It's just because I like the effect. But today, let's get into this. I don't know why I said but today. The first thing you want to do is go to your adjustment layers. Not like this, because apparently you can only add gradient map through these ones, but if you go to the bottom of your layers tab, there should be a circle that's supposed to be black and white circle, and you just go up to the top one that says gradient, not gradient map but gradient, and this is going to add a gradient fill for you. And what we want to do is we want to go on to our gradient and select it, and we want to hit the second preset you get, which is foreground to transparent. If you don't have this, you can hit the cogwheel and reset your gradients. If you have obviously gradients you've made, you might want to save them first, because obviously this is going to reset your whole palette to the default. You can also reset it so it adds the default gradients on the end, so you don't have to save it, I think. But the easiest way, if you don't even want to do that, is just go on to any gradient that has 2 points, go to any side on the top marker, and then set the opacity to 0, and that's the same as what you have here. And now what we need to do is we need to make both the colors black, so it goes black to black, pretty much fading out, because if you have if you have red here, it will go black to red, fade out, which obviously not for this step, but the next step you can mess around with that to come up with some cool lighting effects. But for this step, what we want to do is just have it black. And now what we're going to do is we're going to click on this white one, and we're going to add another white one, and then we're going to drag this black one in the middle of them. Okay, no we're not. Okay, if you click and drag up, it'll delete the marker for you. So that's how you delete them. Or you can click on them and hit delete sometimes if it's not selecting the opacity for you. But yeah, that's just the easiest way to do it. And then we're going to add 2 more points, so we're going to have 3 black points and 2 white points. That's how you create one streak. Obviously you can add more than that, but this is just the basic setup here. You could probably get away with just 2, to be honest with you, but I always use 3. We're going to set this to about 60, we're going to have one at 70, and we're going to have one at 80. And then we're going to, these white ones basically determine how far these streaks stretch outwards, and this diamond helps with this. This is the center of the gradient from the black to white. Well, it's actually black to black, but you know what I mean. In this example you can see it goes black to white, and this is where the gradient is. And this diamond basically just determines where the center of this gradient is. So the closer it is to the white, you notice you'll get this kind of faded line, and then it will like all of a sudden stop and then fade out really quickly. And then if you put it really here, you'll notice it'll do the gradient really quickly and then ever so slightly fade some more, all the way up to wherever the white point is. But what we want is we do actually want that on one side, something like that. On the other side we kind of want a kind of like a glow, so it kind of looks like it's glowing to that side, but we kind of want some sort of edge, so an ever so slightly, something like that looks good, maybe a little bit more, something like that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to change the angle to 0. And a little thing, when you're on this, if you want to save these so you don't have to make them again, just hit the new, and you can name them as well if you want, but just hit new and it will save them at the bottom. You can see I have some presets here of ones like this. I'm not going to click on now because we have this one set up already, but basically when you hit new, it will just add it there. So I've got some presets here. That's what I had before. I actually had it fade out a lot more, but this one will work too, so we're just going to go with this one. Sorry about that, but then and then we're just going to hit OK for that, and then we're going to go to our gradient again, and we're going to have the same foreground to transparent, but this is where we're going to pick our colors. Now I suggest you pick either a bright red, a bright orange, a yellow, or cyan / sky blue. They work best for this effect anyway. For this example I'm going to use red into a really reddish orange, like that. And obviously you can save these as presets as well if you don't want to do the colors ever again. And we're going to have it reverse because we want it coming from the top. Obviously that's an opinion. That's obviously just design. You can have it coming from the bottom to side. It's totally up to you. Any of these steps you can actually edit, so you don't even have to have 1 streak. You could have 5. It's completely up to you. But I'll show you how you can go back and maybe edit them ever so slightly in a minute. And then we're going to put a bit of angle on this, so about 70 angle. So it's kind of brighter at the top and then it fades out, but it's not all just in one straight line. I'm going to hit OK, and then between the 2 gradients we're going to hold Alt and click to create a clipping mask. So this top gradient will only show wherever there is stuff showing in the first gradient. And then what we're going to do then is we're going to set the first gradient, the black one, to screen, which basically hides the black, and it will just let this top gradient shine through. And then that's how you get that really nice light leak effect. And now what we can do once we've done that, we can actually go in and make it circular. You know, it's completely up to you. Increase the size, something like that. You know, you can do 1,000,001 things with this. You could probably have it on like reflected. I don't think reflected would only flip it, so reflected won't do much in this situation, but angled, kind of lost where the black thing is. That's the only problem when you start messing around with them. If you ever get into this situation, basically just set it back to normal and then go back on there and increase the size a bit so you can actually, I think it's more or less at the bottom. There you go. We can increase the size a bit. There we go, we've got it back now. We'll set it back to 100. Yeah, you can kind of get lost when you're dragging it around like that. Angled. I think it's because angled doesn't really do anything for this one. Diamond. Diamond. Nope, don't like it. But yeah, if you have different shapes, like, let me just set it all up so it's kind of like a light string. So there we got one coming in from the side. It's obviously a bit too strong because where we have the colour coming in, so you now kind of need to match the two up. So when you change one, you're probably going to have to change the other. So if we go back and we make two streaks, like these ones, two fattish ones, like that, we can have these. Oops, we can have these diagonal. Apparently they're not showing. But basically you need to go in and change this one. This one was designed to be on reflected and then be reversed and then be at kind of a sharper degree. So it's kind of touching the corners. Like that, something like that. Probably not even like that, to be honest with you. Like a 75. Something like that. And then even thinner, to be honest with you. I don't know. It's totally up to you. So you kind of get like these two streaks that come from the side. That looks pretty cool. It's a bit too much on this image, as you can see, but it might look alright on this one. It looks alright in the sky. I think it's way too bright down here. It looks pretty nice. The one in the sky looks really nice. It blends in really well. But and there's another way you can do this without using two gradients. You can keep the first gradient, or you can do it with the brush. Now this is how I do this effect. I'll show you now. This one. So you kind of get like this glow that comes from the top. Now this was actually done with gradients, but it can be done with brushes. And basically if you want to do it with gradients, all I did was I just had a black to black, obviously foreground to transparent, on a radial 250 scale, and I basically just moved it to the top here in the corner. Well, not in the corner, to the middle of the top of the image. And it's basically just, you can recreate this simply by having a brush that's about the same size, feathered, probably not that big, about 2000, that's 200, Dan, 2000, zoom out a bit, make it black, make sure it's on a separate layer, and make sure the hardness is all the way down, because I changed that earlier. And if we just get rid of this now, I basically just did something like this, and then what I did was add this gradient. I'll show you, it'll be the same effect. If I clip and mask it, set the brush to screen, you almost get the same effect. It's a little bit brighter, but we could change that by just moving the gradient up. So you notice that's exactly the same effect. So say if you want some sort of weird, you can do loads of things, because you can add a brush. We'll make it white now so we can actually see it, and we're just going to add loads of like a streak here, and kind of a curved one here, a few dots as well. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to radiational blur, and we're gonna blur the crap out of it. Wonder what this will look like. Not a lot. You probably use harder brushes actually. They're a bit too soft and not gonna get the effect. But there we go. We got something like this. We set it to black. We can either add a gradient or we can just add another layer. Pick red. Make it quite large. Kind of go from the top so we get that same gradient, and then clip and mask it and set these to screen, and there you go. You've got the same effect. Obviously this one's not a streak, it's kind of more of like a a glow, kind of like a burn, like it's slowly getting stronger from behind the back of the image. This might look better on this one. So that adds quite a nice effect on this one. It's a little bit too random, but that is that. You can do a million more things than that, but this tutorial will end up like an hour long if I keep showing you different ones. And I'm just going to show you a few more of my presets I made yesterday. There's one from the bottom. It's a bit too bright on both of these images. It looks alright on that. That's probably me though, because I just love light leaks. And then we got this one that comes from the side. I think it's a bit too bright for that one. It kind of fits that image because it kind of like highlights the boat, that bottom one, and the top one in the sky really blends in. But you know, it's going to work better on some images than others. But yeah, I hope you learned something today. And if you have any other tips or anything like that, or any other tutorial suggestions, leave it in the comment section, and like the video if you liked it. And that's it, guys. I'll see you in the next tutorial. Thank you very much. Peace.